Now, after no less than 5 consecutive delays, Brexit border checks on EU fresh food imports were imposed this week. As Business Secretary, GBNews' very own Jacob Rees-Mogg, former Business Secretary, I should say, as Business Secretary, he kept kicking the idea of checks into the long grass, arguing why rush to impose checks on imports from a more regulated economy? Well, with Jacob gone, his successors have clearly relented. But was there another way through this? I'm delighted to be joined now by Nigel Jenney, the CEO of the Fresh Produce Consortium. Nigel, a lot of people will be scratching their heads at this, thinking the United Kingdom is seeing itself perhaps as moving away from an EU regulatory model, that is much tighter, much more regulated. Why on earth are we rushing so quickly to impose checks on imports from the EU?
Good evening, Tom. Yes, your point is well made. I have to say the UK government has procrastinated for years to decide what the correct border strategy is. It single-handedly implemented the new border strategy of the last few days without, frankly, my members' support or my industry's support. And we feel this is a highly complex, highly expensive and totally avoidable solution. There are much more efficient and effective solutions that wouldn't have cost the industry, frankly, a small fortune, and ultimately UK consumers. And I think what we have to remember is this is the sole responsibility of the UK government. They have decided this process. They have, I hope, although I doubt perhaps, understood the huge costs and disruption it will have on industry and ultimately we as all as UK consumers.
The previous government, led by first Boris Johnson and then Liz Truss, seemed to have a policy of sort of kicking the can down the road, saying that nothing will be implemented until all the tech is up and running, until what they describe as something called the single trade window is fully implemented. This government, however, seems to have jumped ahead, stopped delaying things, and perhaps delay actually wasn't so bad a word in the case of all of these things, and has implemented these checks pretty abruptly this week. What do you think they should have done instead?
Well, I think the single trade windows you mentioned could be a very valuable tool, but it's years away. So they have implemented the decision, which I have to say they did announce some time ago. However, a huge amount of the detail that the industry needs has only been announced in the last few weeks, which has caused total chaos. And the fees that they are saying they will apply to the industry are simply enormous. So from our point of view, we have for years offered alternative solutions. They frankly have been ignored. They could be put in place retrospectively, and I hope the government seriously considers what we've previously proposed, because as we speak, we're in a situation, as I understand it, as I came to this meeting a few minutes ago, the IT system managing the border has just failed. I can't confirm that, but I understand that is the case, but I may be wrong there. But beyond that...
Nigel, I would be shocked. A government IT system not working? Colour me shocked.
Well, you know, none of us are surprised, let's put it that way. And at the same time, we're in a situation of, look, we have proactively as an industry offered alternatives. And let me just put that in context, is that as an industry, we've accepted things are changing and we have proactively put facilities in place at our members' facilities to allow government officials to conduct inspections as and when they see fit. That is by far the most efficient and least cost way of having a border at a level, let's put it that way. However,
so sort of random spot checks rather than sort of a process now where almost everything has to go through the same checking system.
Well, it goes through the same IT system, but the physical checks is where the issue is. On the solution that we offered, there would be a cost to industry to have an official inspector, and the goods would need to be presented for inspection. But that was
Nigel, why
cost.
do you think the government isn't listening to you?
Because I think they are fixated with their own model, because they've invested huge amounts of time and, frankly, taxpayers' money. And if I briefly explain the income that will generate that from fees, some may say it's a thinly veiled tax, another thinly veiled tax on business and consumers. So our suggestion is use the alternative government industry facilities. However, literally before this went live, we were told by officials that they wouldn't inspect consignments at these facilities beyond 7 o'clock in the evening. And my industry imports highly perishable goods. They'll arrive from Europe through the evening and through the night. So that's not an option. So we want urgently those inspections to be put in place to minimize cost to industry and disruption to both consumers and cost to consumers. And if I put in context the government solution of using Shevington, if I present a consignment at one of my members' facilities, that will cost around £100, but the inspectors are not being made available in the evening and through the night. If I present my consignment at Shevington, the same equivalent cost at levels of inspection is almost £5,000. That is the difference.
I can easily see why you and your members are calling this a tax on business. It seems like that is a remarkable markup. Doing it yourselves, £100, getting the government to do it, £5,000. What a remarkable situation. It does seem that talking to people previously in government, the civil service have been pushing this option, whereas previous ministers tried to find other ways of doing it. Nigel, Jenney, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. CEO of the Fresh Produce Consortium, really appreciate your time.